Okay, this is going to be a short video in case anyone needs help or figuring out what you did wrong on the problem set yesterday, so you can kind of figure out what you need to do differently today on the test. This first number 1, this is a parallelogram. So this side, the top and the bottom are parallel, and the left side and the right side are parallelogram. So all parallelograms are finding the area. It's just base times the height. So this doesn't have those numbers on there. I think it was 40 and it said 20 over here. So it's just 40 times 20 to get 800. This is the same parallelograms, same thing for squares, same things for rectangles. As long as the two opposite sides are parallel, it's just base times height. And we had this guy right here. Oops. Number 2 is a triangle. So all triangles, every single one is area equals 1/2 the base times height, or base times height divided by 2. They're the same formula, they're doing the same thing. Times 1/2 might be helpful if you had a fraction. If you had a triangle that was like fractions, like 1/2 by 3/4, because then you could just do 1/2 times 3/4 times 1/2. Again, so it could be helpful if there are like fractions, but this one does not, so you could just divide it by 2, would be pretty easy. So for this one, you did, the base is 0.5 and the height is 1.2. You remember that with triangles, you're always looking for a right angle to measure the base and the height by. So this is not the height, neither is this. So 1.3 points divided by 2, and always divided by 2 for triangles. Always divided by 2 for triangles. Always divided by 2 for triangles. This guy right here, you could just split it across like that, and that means that you have actually I think that this would be a little bit more difficult to do it this way, because see how they're getting like these numbers like 25 and 12. They have to like add together these numbers. I think that's more complicated. So actually, if you split it this way, that means that this rectangle is 7 times 32, and this triangle over here would just be 18 times 12, and so those would get you those two areas. I can't do that in my head, but when you get that orange and that blue rectangle area, this area plus this area, they should still equal 440. So if you had cut it the other way, like I first did, cutting it across this way, then you would have figured it out with these numbers. But you would have had to do a little bit of work to figure out what the missing lengths are. Moving on to the next page. This guy right here, a lot of them you are just finding the different points for the letters. Remember that you're not finding where the letter is. The letters are labeling actual points. So the A, B, and the C. You're not figuring out where's A. A is this point. J is this point. K is this. That one's a little tricky actually, but that's probably that point, because if you look around it, there's no really other perfect intersections where the line crosses perfectly. So, B, C, D. So you did that, you found those different points. You probably just counted the distance between them, but the proofs would be, remember, when you can use the two different, these x's are different, and they're on opposite sides. If I go up here, this was this one, so A is on this side, B is on this side, so you'd actually have to add those distances of force together. So you have that right here. the absolute value of -4. How far away is -4 from 0 plus how far 4 is away from 0 equals 8. And then you have other ones like H and G wasn't one. What was the one that was? I think C and E right here. So you can see with C and E are on the same sides of 0. So you're thinking, C is 8 away, 8 is, E is 1 away, but it's on the same side, so I'm going to just subtract the difference there. And that equals 7 units away. So those were the proofs. This one right here, you had to plot the points. So you would have plotted the points and found that triangle right there. And then, remember when you have weird triangles like this, because this triangle doesn't have, if I'm looking at this line or this line or this line, there's no right angles coming up from it. So I have to figure out a different way to find the area, and I would do that by finding the area of these triangles right here and subtracting that amount from the area of the whole rectangle. So this whole rectangle is 5, 10, whole rectangle is 10 by 7, so it would be 70 minus, and then you need to figure out what all these triangles are. This triangle looks like it's 2 by 7, so this would have an area of 7. 14 divided by 2. This one looks like it's 8 by 1, 2, 3, 4. So that would be 16, an area of 16, and then this one is 10 by 3, so this one would have an area of 50, and 30 divided by 2. So you take 70 and then you subtract 7, 16, 15, you should get 32. And last, this is determining the volume of this prism, the volume. So volume is just the length times the width times the height, or if you have a base, like if they gave you this area, right, then they would have already multiplied these two numbers together. So then you just have to take whatever number that is and multiply it times the leftover one. But they had all three measurements here, so you are just multiplying all three fractions. You would want to change these to improper fractions. So this would be 7 over 2. This one was already a nice fraction, so times 7 over 8 times this one would be 5 over 4. You could just multiply straight across, and you should get 245 over 64. And you could leave it like that if you want, or you could change it to a mixed number. 3 more expressions. They're getting these expressions because for one expression they're multiplying these numbers together. They're going to say the product of these two things times this one. And another one they're going to say multiply these two numbers first, get that number, and then multiply times that one. And the other one they're going to take these two numbers, you multiply those. It's like you're finding the area of the top, and then you multiply it, or sorry, that would be finding the area of, doing this too fast, that would be like finding the area of this, and then you're going to find the area of this, and then you're going to multiply it, these two, the product of those two times this number. So all they're doing is multiplying two of them together first. And then this one was, you would want to split it into two figures. So you would have the orange part would be the front, and then the purple one would be in the back. And so the back one would be 3 5/8 for the width times 1 1/3 times 1 1/4 to give you 580 over 96. And then the front orange one would be, the height is still 1 1/4. Then you would do times 1 1/6 for this and 1 1/4 for this. And you have to, that would get you 175 over 76, and then you just add them together to find the total volume. There you go.